SIBO is really two different problems. SIBO is small intestinal bacterial overgrowth, and it can cause some major GI discomfort, gas, bloating. It can be really awful. So there's a bacterial overgrowth that's occurring in the small intestine where we should have very few bacteria growing. And while addressing that bacterial overgrowth is obviously really important in overcoming SIBO, a potentially bigger issue is gastric motility. We have something called the migrating motor complex, and that's essentially the intestines kind of like flushing out periodically. And this also moves bacteria from the small intestine down to the large intestine, doesn't allow those bacteria to grow in the small intestine. And when there's an issue with gastric motility, that is when we start to see issues with SIBO arise. Eradicating the bacteria that are living in the small intestine is incredibly important, but if you don't also address the gastric motility issue, then you are very likely to relapse and just get SIBO again. And unfortunately, addressing that gastric motility is quite a bit more complicated than addressing the bacterial overgrowth itself. There are various drugs that are known to slow gastric motility and can therefore lead to SIBO, and that includes GLP-1 agonists, that's like Ozempic, but also opioids, antidepressant medications, even blood pressure and allergy medications can do this too. And on top of that, stress, excessive levels of inflammation, brain injuries, concussions, all of these things can slow gastric motility and lead to SIBO. It's not as simple as taking a supplement or medication to improve that motility, although there are supplements and medications that can help. Ideally, you're able to identify and remove whatever's causing that slow gastric motility. And if you're suffering from recurrent SIBO and you haven't explored the migrating motor complex, that gastric motility issue, make sure you go down that road because that can help you to prevent relapses in the future.